Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuren. Let's take a look at the headlines. Federal, states and local governments receive 725.5 billion naira revenue in March. Senate prohibits payment of ransom to kidnappers. Plus, Poland to take legal action against Gazprom. The details of these stories and more in a moment. First, in our news tonight, the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee has shared a total of 725.5 billion naira as revenue for March to the federal government, states and local government areas. This was contained in a communique issued at the end of a virtual meeting of the committee for April. The total distributable revenue comprised distributable statutory revenue of 521.16 billion naira and the distributable value added tax revenue of 204.4 billion naira. Away from that, federal government has approved the engagement of transaction advisors for consultancy services for the concession of a Jalkuta Steel Company Limited, as well as the National Iron Ore Mining Complex in Itapwe in the sum of 853.26 million naira. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, made this known on behalf of the Minister of Mines and Steel at the end of the Federal Executive Council meeting chaired by President Muhammadu Buhari. The Information Minister noted that the ongoing development was a significant move to resuscitate both the Jalkuta Steel Company and the Iron Ore Company in Itape. He said the 24,000-hectare project, when revived, will advance industrial revolution in the country, save foreign exchange, as well as engender industrial development and technology transfer. Meanwhile, federal government says it is committing more than 5.9 billion naira on training, tooling and monthly stipends for the Batch C beneficiaries of Manpower program in Kano State. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Farouk, stated this during the closing ceremony for about 177 youth beneficiaries who underwent training in smartphone repairs and services under the N-Skills program in Kano State. She said about 16,629 youths were currently benefiting from the program on the Batch C in the state, while about 18,042 had benefited in Batch A and B of the program. Farouk, who was represented by Special Assistant to President Muhammadu Buhari on N-Skills Nasiru Mahmood, however, warned the beneficiaries not to sell starter packs handed over to them after the program. In another development, the federal government has pegged the amount Nigeria loses annually to conflicts between farmers and herders at about $14 billion. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Agriculture, Andrew Kwasari, gave the figure during his presentation at a summit on National Livestock Transformation Plan in Abuja. Away from that, President Muhammadu Buhari has sworn in 4 new permanent secretaries who took an oath of office at the council chamber of the State House in Abuja. The new officials are Beatrice Gidi Agba, Kacholom Daju, Shehu Ibrahim and Mary Ogbe. At the ceremony were Vice President Emil Sibanjo, Secretary to the Government of the Federation Boss Mustafa, and Chief of Staff to the President Ibrahim Gambari. Report says a minute silence was observed in honor of former Federal Executive Council member Tonye Graham Douglas, who died on Monday in a private hospital in Abuja. In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari wants all political parties in the country to keep elections and election-related differences aside and join his administration's drive to end insecurity. The president made the call when he hosted the leadership of political parties at an iftar dinner in Abuja. According to a statement issued by his media aide Femi Adesina, President Buhari, who described insecurity as a common enemy bedeviling the country, noted that all hands should be on deck for the country to win the fight against insecurity. To legislative matters now, where the Senate has passed a bill seeking to amend the Terrorism Prevention Act 2013, which will prohibit the payment of ransom to kidnappers in Nigeria. The passage of the Bill 2022 follows the consideration of a report by the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters. The report was laid by the committee's chairman, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, for consideration. In his presentation, Bamidele said the bill sought to outlaw the payment of ransom to abductors, kidnappers and terrorists for release of any person who had been wrongfully confined, imprisoned or kidnapped. Meanwhile, Senate has mourned those killed in an explosion at the site of an illegal refinery in Abaizi community in Ohagi Egbema local government area of Imo State. The lawmakers took the action following a point of order raised by the member representing Imo West Senatorial District, Senator Rochas Okorocha, during plenary in Abuja. Relying on Order 42 of the Senate Standing Order 2022 as amended, Okorocha informed his colleagues that the incident, which occurred last Friday, led to the death of 110 people. According to him, the incident has thrown the state into mourning, and the explosion was caused as a result of illegal refining. The lawmaker called on the federal government to consider legislation to provide for local technology for artisanal and modular refineries, considering the gap in Nigeria's refining capacity. Commenting on the incident, the Senate President Ahmed Lawan underscored the need for local refining of petroleum products to boost the nation's revenue. He, however, called on the federal government to take prompt action through the introduction of regulatory policies to prevent disasters associated with illegal refining of crude oil in Nigeria. In the meantime, Senate has urged the National Commission for Museum and Monuments to upgrade the Akasa Slave Trade Center to a National Slave Trade Museum. The call was contained in a resolution reached by the Senate, sequel to the consideration of a motion to that effect. The motion was sponsored by Senator Biobarakuma Degi Eremienyo, representing Bayelsa East. In his presentation, the lawmaker noted that Akasa is a settlement in Bayelsa State, where the non-river estuary meets the Atlantic Ocean, with a lighthouse that had stood since 1910. He noted that due to the proximity of Akasa to the Atlantic, the settlement had always been a traditional trading site in Nigeria, especially in the business of palm oil trade during the colonial era. From the lower chamber, Speaker of the House of Representatives Femi Gbajagbiamila has sought the support of the United Kingdom's Parliament in the area of insecurity, diplomacy, as well as political and economic prosperity in Nigeria. Gbajagbiamila made the request during a visit to the Speaker of the UK's House of Commons, Lindsay Hoyle, in Westminster. According to Gbajagbiamila, Nigeria remains a key player in global affairs, and its parliament plays an important role in addressing issues through legislation. He said the Nigerian House had used parliamentary diplomacy at different times, and it worked. Still on legislative matters, the House of Representatives has vowed to continue to work towards ensuring accountability on the 2.6 trillion naira capital allowances granted to a telecommunications service by the Federal Ministry of Trade and Industry. Chairman of the House Committee on Public Accounts, Oluwole Oke, stated this at the resumed investigative hearing into the audit queries on tax evasion issued by the Office of the Auditor General for the Federation. He said the office report indicated that the documents relating to the 2.6 trillion naira capital allowances were allegedly forged. In education, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, has blamed the Academic Staff Union of Universities (ASU) for prolonging the strike in the country. This was contained in a statement by the ministry's acting head of press and public relations, Patience Onobia. Ngige alleged that ASU was making negotiations difficult for both parties and called for a change in attitude. In a related development, the Coalition of Southern and Middle Belt Youth Leaders Assembly has issued a 7-day ultimatum to the federal government to resolve issues with the Academic Staff Union of Universities (ASU), lamenting the state of education in the country following the incessant strikes by ASU. The President General of the group, Goodluck Ibem, accused the federal government of deliberately refusing to resolve the differences with ASU. In a statement, Ibem, who noted that there would be no development in the country without education, called on Nigerians to act fast to save the education system. In Niger, the state chapter of the Nigeria Union of Journalists (NUJ) has lamented the harsh economic condition of media practice in the state. The union alleged that within 2 years, no fewer than 10 retired and serving journalists had died in the state. The state chairman of NUJ Niger State Council, Abu Modu, stated this during a condolence visit to the council by the leadership of the Forum of Retired Directors to commiserate with journalists over the demise of Niger State correspondent at the IBB Pen House in Minna. Modu observed that journalists played a great role in solving problems for the public in the process of social development, but were sometimes faced with harsh conditions without empathy from those in positions to help. He called for improvement of the condition of service for retired and serving journalists to guarantee safety and ameliorate sufferings. In a separate development, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency (NDLEA) has urged political parties to make drug integrity tests part of the screening requirements for aspirants seeking to contest various political offices in the 2023 elections on their platforms. NDLEA Chief Executive Brigadier General Buba Marawa made the proposal in response to questions from reporters at the agency's national headquarters in Abuja. He also highlighted some of the feats the agency has recorded in the last 3 months, including the arrest of over 3,500 suspects. To Lagos State now, where the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has commenced the distribution of over 33,000 permanent voter cards (PVCs) for newly registered voters in the state. The resident electoral commissioner Olusegun Agbaje made this known in Lagos. Agbaje told newsmen while handing over PVCs to registered voters at INEC offices in Somolu and Kosofe local government areas that the PVCs were for those who registered between June 2021 and December 2021. He urged the affected persons to approach INEC offices in the 20 local governments between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. from Monday through Friday to collect their PVCs. In politics, Minister of State for Education Emeka Nwajuba says his friends have raised 100 million naira for him to purchase nomination and expression of interest forms. Similarly, the former governor of Ogun State and chairman, Senate Committee on Capital Market, Ibikunle Amosun, also wrote the Senate declaring his intention to contest for the 2023 presidential election. The letter was read during plenary by the President of the Senate, Ahmad Lawan. Still in politics, the Deputy Minority Whip of the Senate, Ibrahim Danbaba, has dumped the People's Democratic Party (PDP) for the All Progressives Congress (APC). The development was conveyed in a letter read on the floor of the Senate by the Senate President Ahmad Lawan during plenary. The lawmaker who represents Sokoto South in the upper chamber of the National Assembly was nominated by the PDP on July 15, 2021 for the position of Deputy Minority Whip. The nomination followed the defection of the former Deputy Whip, Sahabi Yao, representing Zamfara North, from the PDP to the APC. Reports say Dambaba's defection to the party brings the total number of APC senators in the upper chamber to 71, while PDP is 37. Meanwhile, Governor Aminu Tambawal of Sokoto State has accepted the resignation of his deputy Mane Daniya, secretary to the state government SSG Saidu Umar, and 11 other key political office holders in the state. A statement issued by Special Advisor to the Governor on Media and Publicity, Muhammad Bello, in Sokoto, made this known today. The statement listed others whose resignations were accepted by the Governor to include the Chief of Staff, Makta Magori, as well as Commissioners for Finance and Environment, Youths and Sports, and Lands and Housing. Others are Commissioners for Commerce, Works, Water Resources, Solid Minerals, Religious Affairs, and Careers and Security. On security matters, police in Lagos have given an update on the shooting at a Lagos birthday party on Sunday. The incident occurred around 9 p.m. at a bar in Egbeda as guests were spraying money on the celebrant. A statement by Police Public Relations Officer Benjamin Hundayin said the Commissioner Abiodun Alabi had ordered a full-scale investigation. Reports say 2 persons lost their lives, while 2 others sustained injuries after bullets hit them, with findings showing the shooting was accidental and involved an off-duty policeman. In Zamfara State, the government has dethroned 2 emirs and a district head over allegations of aiding the activities of bandits terrorizing communities in the state. Commissioner for Information Ibrahim Dozara made the announcement while briefing reporters at the end of the State Executive Council meeting in Gusau, the state capital. He identified those affected as the Emir of Zulmi, Abubakar Atiku, Emir of Dansado, Hussaini Umar, and Suleiman Ibrahim, who used to be the district head of Benin Saba. According to the commissioner, the government has also ordered that all land titles issued by the affected traditional leaders be revoked. The deposition of the traditional leaders comes 10 months after they were suspended by the state government. Back here, a governorship aspirant under the People's Democratic Party PDP, David Okpon, has assured Akwa Ibomites of his readiness to revitalize the ailing factories and activate the newly built industries across the state to reduce capital flight. Okpon gave the assurance when he consulted delegates of Uyo chapter of the People's Democratic Party. A correspondent has the rest of the story.
Ahead of party nominations for candidates running for political offices in the 2023 general elections, a top aspirant for the governorship race in the state, David Okpon, has consulted the People's Democratic Party (PDP) Uyo chapter in Uyo local government area. The visit was greeted with overwhelming welcome from interest groups, youths, and the elderly across the various wards in Uyo local government area.
Your next governor.
Speaking shortly after the visit, Okpon explained why he was contesting for the top office in the state. He stressed that the state needed a spiritual intervention to get things working.
Akwa Ibom State is a consumer community. No consumer community survives. Down the line, you will capitulate. Down the line, all your assets, all of your resources will be lost. Because where you have a consumer people and a consumer nation, you have the highest level of capital flight. Yes. So why is that so? That is so because we have no product in Akwa Ibom State. Akwa Ibom State doesn't have what it sells to the next person. It doesn't have services it offers. Why? We have over 30 companies and industries that are not functioning. Our children are coming out of school. They are not going to be employed in their own home, where they have over 100 federal, state, and private businesses that have not been functioning for over 3 decades. There must be another platform that brings solution. And that is why I'm saying this is the reason why we are coming. As an intercessor, we have prayed over the land since 1994 up until now. God has given us what to do to cause that every business will start functioning.
While thanking Governor Domi Manuel for the peace achieved in the state, Okpon noted that it was time to revitalize the ailing factories, create jobs, and engender export. Uyo Aniekan for Spectrum Television.
Still to come in the news. Naira circulation quantity drops for third consecutive month. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. In Africa, Tigrayan forces have completely withdrawn from the neighboring Ethiopian Afar region. Tigray People's Liberation Front spokesman Getachew Reda announced this on Twitter. He hoped the development meant that the much-needed food aid would reach famine-stricken Tigray. Elsewhere, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has met Chad's leader Mohammed Idris Deby in the Saudi city of Jeddah. This was announced by Saudi Arabia's official news agency, SPA. It said the two leaders had discussed cooperation in a multitude of fields. Still in Africa, Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni says the country may deploy a large force to help fight Islamic militants in Mozambique's Cabo Delgado province. His Mozambican counterpart Felipe Nyusi is on a 3-day visit to Uganda to strengthen ties between the two nations. Reports say Uganda troops are currently deployed to Somalia and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Troops from Rwanda and others from the regional bloc, the Southern African Development Community, are helping Mozambique fight the insurgents. Uganda has so far helped the Mozambican forces with military equipment. In Rwanda, an opposition lawmaker has slammed the Rwanda-UK asylum seekers deal, arguing it could create budget difficulties and destabilize the society in the long run. Rwandan opposition lawmaker Frank Habinezer's comment comes weeks after the British and the Rwandan Foreign Affairs ministers announced what they called a migration and economic development partnership. Reports say the agreement will see Britain send to Rwanda those arriving illegally in the UK, adding that they could settle in the African country. On the foreign scene, Russian energy giant Gazprom has completely suspended gas supplies to the Bulgarian company Bulgargaz and the Polish PGNiG, saying neither had paid on time in rubles. In a statement, Russia said because gas also flowed to third countries via Bulgaria and Poland in the event of unauthorized withdrawal of Russian gas from transit volumes to third countries, transit supplies will be reduced by this volume. Poland, however, said it can manage the situation and can access gas from other sources. Reacting to the development, Ukraine slammed the Russian move and called it gas blackmail of Europe. On its part, Britain's Deputy Minister Dominic Raab told newsmen that Russia's decision to cut off gas supply to Poland would add its status as an economic and political pariah. Meanwhile, Polish President Andrzej Duda says appropriate legal steps will be taken against Russian energy provider Gazprom after it cut off gas exports to Poland and Bulgaria. Duda said appropriate compensation would be sought from Gazprom for breach of contract. On his part, Bulgarian Prime Minister Kirill Petkov said his country was prepared for Russia's move to suspend its gas supply and reassured Bulgarians that there will be no shortage, as he had spoken to the neighboring Greek government to ensure alternative supplies. In a related development, UK's Foreign Secretary Liz Truss has asked for Britain and other Western powers to give warplanes to Ukraine as part of their long-term military support. In a speech in London, Truss said the West should be ready to give Ukraine its backing for the long haul. Reports say Ukraine has repeatedly asked for combat aircraft, particularly Soviet-era fighters, with which their pilots are familiar, while Western allies have been reluctant to go that far for fear of provoking Russia. However, as NATO members step up their support for Ukraine with longer-range weapons, Truss asked them to go even further. Still on the Ukraine crisis, Russia says it can attack military sites in NATO countries who support Ukraine and provide arms, and may target diplomats in Kyiv with retaliatory strikes. The escalation comes as Russia agitates over the West arming Ukrainian forces in their resistance of Putin. The Kremlin's comments come after U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said rhetoric from Moscow and threats of nuclear war are very dangerous and unhelpful. It could be recalled that the U.S. last week announced a multi-billion-dollar financial and military aid package for Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russian troops have reportedly attempted to disperse a protest in the city center using stun grenades and tear gas. The protesters were said to be holding a rally in Kherson Central Square against Russia's plans for a referendum on independence. Ukraine's President Zelensky has warned that this would be a fake poll designed to allow President Putin to lay claim to Ukrainian territory. Earlier, Russia's Ministry of Defense claimed its force had gained control of the Kherson region. Away from that, a court in military-ruled Myanmar has sentenced Aung San Suu Kyi to an additional 5 years in jail after finding the civilian leader guilty in the first of 11 corruption cases against her. Media reports noted that the sentence was announced in Myanmar's capital, Naypyidaw. The judge handed down the verdict within moments of the court convening. The case centered on allegations that 76-year-old Aung San Suu Kyi accepted 11.4 kilograms of gold and cash payments totaling $600,000 from her protege turned accuser, former Yangon Chief Minister Pheo Thane. She had denied charges and called the allegations absurd. The Nobel laureate, who led Myanmar for 5 years before being forced from office when the military seized power in a coup in February 2021, has been charged with at least 18 offenses, which carry a combined maximum jail term approaching 190 years if found guilty. And now it's time for the latest business stock market stories. Here is Blyden Uyo.
Thank you, Xavier Robert, and good evening. It is another business day, and my name is Blyden Uyo. In the news, we'll begin with Tesla's shares. Tesla shares fell after investors feared that Elon Musk might have to sell shares in the electric car maker to help pay for the takeover of Twitter. As reported, Tesla had over 125 billion in value wiped off the market on Tuesday, as shares dropped 12.2% from over $1 trillion to $906 billion. According to analysts, the slump in Tesla's value may be problematic with a $12.5 billion loan that Mr. Musk secured against his stake in the company. Tesla's share price has taken a hammering, with some investors wondering whether Mr. Musk's Twitter purchase is bad for Tesla. In Nigeria, MTN Nigeria FRS allegedly are under probe of 2.6 trillion naira. MTN Nigeria is under investigation by the House of Representatives Committee on Public Account following a 2.6 trillion naira tax waiver granted by the Federal Ministry of Trade and Industry. During the investigative hearing on Tuesday, the committee led by Oluwole Oke stated that the documents used to back the waiver were allegedly forged. It was also asserted that the certificates, which stand as evidence of the waiver following valuation of MTN dealings by the Federal Inland Revenue Service FRS, were not issued by the service. During the hearing, General Manager MTN Group, Yemisi Adeleye, said the Trade Ministry and FRS used various documents to support the 2.6 trillion tax waiver. While she provided documents to defend the capital allowance, the House Committee disagreed with her summation, stressing that it would probe the role of abuse of power in a tax waiver by the Trade Ministry and FRS. Let's look at Naira circulation as quantity drops for third consecutive month. The quantity of currency in circulation in Nigeria dropped by 4.59 billion naira to 3.24 trillion naira in March, from 3.25 trillion naira in February 2022. According to the Central Bank of Nigeria's Money and Credit Statistics on its website, in January, The Apex Bank reported that there was 3.29 trillion naira in circulation. However, in the following 3 consecutive months, it has recorded a decline, dropping by 37.13 billion naira in January and 37.84 billion naira in February of 2022. The CBN defined the currency in circulation as currency outside the vaults of the central bank, that is, all legal tender currency in the hands of the general public and in the vaults of the deposit money banks. In recent months, CBN had embarked on several intervention policies which pushed currency in circulation to its highest level in history in December 2021. The data also revealed that net domestic credit also rose month on month by 3.9% to 52.69 trillion naira in March 2022 from 50.7 trillion in February 2022, signifying an uptick in economic activities. Still in Nigeria, consumption of foreign wines by Nigerians hit 7-year high. The importation of assorted wine brands into Nigeria has jumped to its highest level, according to data from Euromonitor International, a market research company. Wine consumption in Nigeria rose to 33.1 million in 2021, the highest level since 2015. Similar data from Comité Champion, a trade association that tracks the volume and value of exports from France, shows Nigeria's champagne import volume increased by 83.8% to 559,088 in 2021 from 304,199 in 2020. It's noted that Nigeria is the 3rd biggest champagne market in Africa and the 32nd in the world. Nigeria's high spending on assorted drinks is a complete stark contrast to the reality of the economic situation in the country. And now it's time for the Nigerian stock market report. The BS return. At the end of today's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the all-share index edged up 3.18 basis points to close at 48,571.75 points. Compared with the previous trading day, today's data shows 47% decline in volume, 67% decline in turnover, and 22% decline in deals. In the aggregate, 112 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 18 gainers and 23 losers. Academy Praise led the gainers with 9.92% share price appreciation, closing at 1.33 naira per share. On the losing side, Ikeja Hotel came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 9.68% at 1.40 naira per share. Multiverse Mining and Exploration recorded the highest volume of 36.2 million traded shares. This is all on business news, and over to Xavier Robert for the rest of the news.
Thanks for staying tuned. In health, the World Health Organization (WHO) has warned that there is a dramatic drop in testing for COVID-19, which has left the world blind to the virus's continuing rampage and its potentially dangerous mutations. WHO's head of Global Diagnostics Alliance Find William Rodriguez decried that many governments in recent months stopped looking for COVID-19 cases. Speaking at a press conference hosted by WHO, he pointed out that in the past 4 months, amid surging COVID-19 cases from the Omicron variant, testing rates had plummeted by 70 to 90% worldwide, despite the fact that there is now more access to accurate testing than ever before. Still in health, measles cases have reportedly surged by nearly 80% worldwide this year. The UN warned that the rise of the canary in a coal mine illness indicates that outbreaks of other diseases are likely on the way. According to new data from the UN agencies, more than 17,300 measles cases were reported globally in January and February, compared to around 9,600 during those months last year. Reports say the coronavirus pandemic has interrupted vaccination campaigns for non-COVID diseases around the world, creating a storm that could put millions of children at risk. In the meantime, the National Health Insurance Scheme (NHIS) has developed a 10-year strategic plan 2020 to 2030 to serve as a roadmap for achieving the scheme's mandate. Executive Secretary of the scheme, Professor Mohammed Sambo, disclosed this at a press conference in Abuja. According to reports, the implementation of the plan has commenced, with efforts aimed at the attainment of universal health coverage in Nigeria, with a clear focus and milestones that could easily and accurately be tracked. According to him, since he resumed office in July 2019, he has unfolded a 3-point rebranding agenda to enable him transform and reorient the scheme towards realizing its core mandate. It's over now to Bright James for trending sports stories.
Thank you, Sylvia Robert. Good evening and welcome to the Sports Desk. I am Bright James. Who being with tennis with world number 1 Iga Swiatek is withdrawn from the Madrid Open with a shoulder injury. On Saturday, a Polish 20-year-old won her 4th consecutive title at the Stuttgart Open. She was due to start her Madrid campaign on Thursday, but said her body needs to rest. Swiatek has confirmed she's hoping to play at the Italian Open in May, followed by the French Open, where she's the favorite for the title. Swiatek is aiming for her 2nd Grand Slam title in Paris, having previously won in Roland Garros in 2020. She became world number 1 last month following the retirement of Australian Ashley Barty and is currently on a 23-match winning run. Now to Formula 1, where Lewis Hamilton, Formula 1 driver, a resident, told Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea Council that Lewis Hamilton would be destroying nature if he was allowed to cut down a sugar plum tree outside his home. A report by Hamilton's tree surgeon said it was mostly dead and dying. The council granted permission to chop down the tree and trim back to magnolia. Hamilton's Victorian house is a 200 feet garden and a private driveway, according to the local Democracy Reporting Service. Elsewhere in football, Nigeria forward Omar Sadiq says he will consider returning to his former club AS Roma in future. Sadiq linked up with Roma on a permanent deal from Spezia in 2016 after a previous loan stint at the club. The 25-year-old left for Serbian side Partizan Belgrade on a permanent deal in 2020. But Sadiq, speaking with journalists in Spain, said Roma is his second home and that he still has a house and his family there, adding that no one knows the future, while reiterating that his focus on his career at Secunda Division side UAD Almeria. Finally, Southampton defender Tino Livramento is likely to miss the rest of the season after the club confirmed he suffered anterior cruciate ligament knee injury at Brighton on Sunday. The England under-21 full-back received oxygen and was carried off on a stretcher after a knockouts challenge with Enoch Mwepu during the first half of Sunday's 2-2 Premier League draw at the Seagulls. Sensball's Ralph Hasenhuttl described the injury as appearing very, very serious, with subsequent scans on the player's left knee confirming surgery would be needed. And that's all from the sports desk this evening. I am Bright James. Over now to B2 Brian for entertainment news.
Thanks, Bright James. Hello and welcome to the entertainment desk. I am Beto Brian. First off in our bulletin this evening, British DJ Tim Westwood has been accused of sexual abuse by multiple women. According to The Guardian, the women claim Tim abused his position as a renowned DJ in the music industry to exploit them. The Guardian indicates that the 3 out of 7 women have accused the DJ of sexual behavior that is opportunistic and predatory. The other 4 have alleged that the DJ groped them at events. These revelations were made public through a joint inquiry by The Guardian and the BBC focused on the DJ. The allegations against Tim goes far back as 1992 and most recent is 2017. One of the women said, and I quote, "Someone taking advantage of my naivety and lack of confidence isn't something that I should have to carry with shame," unquote. The 7 women who spoke to the BBC are all black. The women tell their stories in a BBC 3 documentary, Tim Westwood, Abuse of Power, which airs on BBC 3 at 2100 hours on Tuesday. According to 2 of the women who are aspiring to start a career in the industry, they agreed to meet the DJ in London to discuss music. They accused the DJ of driving them to a flat and initiating unwanted and unexpected sex. One was 19 at the time, while Westwood was 53. Another woman, then a member of an R&B group, said she met with Tim when she was just 17 and the DJ was in his mid-30s. She says the DJ subjected her to unwanted oral sex after agreeing to meet with him. The woman who accused him of groping said the DJ touched their bottoms and breasts as they posed for photographs with him at different events where he was performing. The BBC and The Guardian changed the names of the women to protect their identities, with the media outlets indicating that the women do not know each other. Some of them still work in the music industry and fear repercussions, according to the reports. Allegations about Westwood's behavior towards young black women have circulated on social media for some time. In 2020, Westwood issued a statement to the Mail Online, hinting out that the fabricated allegations were false and without foundation. For the first time after these investigations, there have been detailed accusations against the DJ, which he still refutes and debunks until this moment. On to our next story, where Wizkid is set to headline Rolling Loud Toronto 2022. The inaugural Canadian edition of the festival would also feature Lil Uzi Vert, Migos, Rudy Rich, and more. Rolling Loud has announced the first ever Canadian edition, and it's set for a traveling festival which will take place on September 9 to 11 at Ontario Place in Toronto. Also expected to headline are Dave, Future, and Wizkid from Nigeria, with scheduled performers alongside the likes of Lil Yachty, A Boogie with the Hoodie, and Trippie Redd, not forgetting many more lined up in the likes of Kendrick Lamar, Kanye West, who are also billed for its Miami festival. The baby is set at last for the festival and has drawn intense scrutiny after the rapper made insensitive comments about HIV/AIDS victim and the LGBTQ community and featured as a guest appearance from Tory Lanez, whose presence on stage just minutes after Megan Thee Stallion's violated a protective order filed against him, resulted in an increase of his bail as he awaits trial over his alleged shooting of the Houston rapper in her foot. Megan also recently spoke about the shooting with Gal King on the CBS Mornings last October, Fetiwa was also arrested on federal drug charges before his schedule set at Citi Field for Rolling Loud, New York. Lastly, from the entertainment desk this evening, Netflix set to debut its first African podcast, Never Late African Time. Set to be hosted by South Africans Andy Magwanzawana and Zilwe Mbela, the podcast promises no holds bars conversation with Africa's foremost talents, talking all things industry as performers share their personal stories in and away from the limelight. Some of the talents set on the roundtable include award-winning Kenyan actress Catherine Kwama Karanja, popularly known as Kate Actress, Nigerian actress and TV personality Nancy Nsime, and filmmaker Kemi Adetiba, not forgetting South Africa's iconic thespian Israel Matsika Zulu, among other veterans, young actors, and directors. Reports have it that the podcast will launch on May 4 on Netflix's YouTube page, Spotify, and Apple, with 5 episodes released weekly. That's our package from the entertainment desk. I am Beto Brian, thanking you for watching. Now over to Xavier Robert.
Many thanks, Beto. That's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTv.ng. My name is Xavier Robert. You have a terrific night rest.